In a world filled with conflict, in a universe comprised of differences, there's one thing that absolutely everything shares in common. We all exist. Including two guys named Jack and Michael, who like to chat about that very thing over a good cup of coffee. Let's pay them a visit, shall we?
Existence Brewing.
It's you.
Oh, you're here too.
It's you again.
I've gotten here first. But we've come out of... Did you emerge from the restroom?
Yes, I emerged.
Have you seen the new signs?
Which ones?
Well, the ones they put up all these different signs to, what you identify as, so which one you go in.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one that says no cell phone usage in the bathroom. I've never quite understood that. Why would they restrict cell phone usage in the bathroom?
I thought that one said no cell phone video in the bathroom, not usage.
Oh,
usage is pretty general.
Yeah, it's true. No videoing.
Because if you're sitting there for a while waiting for, the old floater to come out, then you got to get online and look at something
to help
you go, right? Always look at pictures of things that help you go. Like, that's the best thing to do when you're... Because it used to be there was reading material in the bathroom. They would put magazines in there.
Which is just gross.
Could go through them as you were in the midst of your defecation. Yeah. But now everybody just takes their phone in because the phone is replaced. See, the phone has replaced all these happy little nuances of life in so many ways. Now there's no selective reading material for the John. It's just for the sit-down portion anyway. At the urinal, you just read whatever people have written on the wall if it's that kind of bathroom. If it's a clean one, like most Starbucks that you'll find, then you don't have that opportunity. Was just going over a few of those things that are above the urinal with somebody I work with, a colleague. It's completely, male-driven stuff, but one of them was pretty clever, I thought. It was, please don't throw toothpicks in the urinal. The crabs can pole vault. So it's just like, well, that takes on a little bit of supposition, but I guess I get it. So, yeah.
Everybody's on this AI kick now. Have you noticed that?
AI kick?
Yeah. It seems like everything is like the answer to everything is AI. Like during the pandemic, the answer to everything was coronavirus the vaccine or the pandemic, and now
the reason why everything happened was COVID-19.
Yeah.
Just blame COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now AI. Yeah. No, I got it. It's the flavor. It's the current flavor of the paradigm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there was this article I ran across actually just today that said that AI is replacing the iPhone. And how we may not need an iPhone 10 years from now, mainly because of artificial intelligence and how it has simplified the process. I didn't read the whole thing, but don't you find that interesting that like AI is now kind of the new buzzword? It's like, oh yeah, AI can do that.
Yeah, well, as soon as it starts getting used as a defense for rape, robbery, car theft, murder in court, then... it's arrived because that was done during COVID. COVID was used like more often as a defense mechanism in court. And of course, the defense attorneys were all over it. Just like, well, the pandemic's going on. Say it's COVID. I mean, COVID made me do it. And in some cases, judges would buy it. And in others, they wouldn't. But I think AI, again, that's the sure litmus for whatever the latest, thing, as you said, that's within the paradigm to blame on. Ex-girlfriend, it was AI, so
it wasn't me.
How would she know the difference? She's pretty light on her feet anyway, so
the
point is it wasn't me. And does the jury buy it? But the jury is all made up of AI. It's a completely AI impaneled jury, so what do they know? They're all just digital glips. I don't know how it's going to replace the cell phone.
Yeah, that's what I was reading into this too, because it's like how could AI replace a physical tool? But then again, software, hardware, back in the day, it was like, well, what is software? Well, what do you mean?
Are we talking about?
There's an app. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Are they making an allusion to Orwellian times? The Gattaca thing is here. We're all going to have a chip that's available to be implanted in us. And of course, people are going to willingly do this. Do you know how scary that is?
Yeah.
They rolled that out not too many years ago. They had this thing. I remember this. I want to say it was back when I was married still. And I got into this philosophical convo with my ex-wife about it. And she was kind of on board. And I was just like, you have to fucking be kidding me. Because most of the, well, not most, but there was a good percentage of people, more than you'd like to think, that were willing to line up to be implanted with this chip that was going to make your life easier. And I'm just thinking, I mean, I know we lost our minds a long time ago, but now we're literally putting our heart and soul up for auction to whatever, who cares? I'm going to have a chip put in me to do what? I mean, this is the mark of the beast kind of stuff here.
Totally.
It defies logic, but that's the only way I can think that the smartphone would be replaced by artificial intelligence, is if this intelligence had a way of weaving itself through your daily life. It'd have to come through some kind of gizmo. So maybe it's implanted in you. I, of course, won't be getting it until I'm held down and forced to get it.
I really shouldn't bring up articles until I've read them, but it was just one of those things that I happened to be going through my phone at the time, and I was clickbait. We're just surrounded by clickbait.
Our ignorant spin on it is no doubt twice as entertaining as our educated spin on it would have been. So who cares?
Right. And I'm sure that when we read the article, we're going to have to go to at least 3 different websites, and we're going to be forwarded to various advertisements before we can actually get to the answer of our quest.
Yeah, it was like something we talked about recently. I think it was I always want to call them barred wolves. It's just so ridiculous. What's that wolf they brought back again?
Oh, you're gonna make me think about this now, aren't you?
The dire wolf.
Yeah, the dire wolf.
Dire wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not dire anymore for the dire wolf. They brought it back. Well, neither one of us read like how they actually managed to do this. And I finally got into a little bit more detail. At least this is what they're telling us. Remember, you have to take a lot of things with grains of more than just salt. I mean, I throw in some pepper and some cayenne and other stuff these days. But so apparently, the dire wolf is gone.
Yeah,
as it was created by whatever created it in the first place, be it intelligent design, be it God, be it just pure happenstance evolution, pick your flavor. The dire wolf is over. So what they did was they took gray wolf DNA and then they made a designer dire wolf, gray wolf baby, kind of how Elon Musk has children. And they made it into this thing. So what you're seeing are not actual dire wolves per se. Yeah. They are dire wolf lookalikes that are,
they're
it's
simulations.
Kind of like when remember how when hypercars didn't become the despicable like institution that they have in like in the 80s, and you wanted a Lamborghini Countach really bad, but it was just too exotic. And at 17, the insurance company said no, and so did your parents. Imagine that. But you could get the kit and make your Pontiac Fiero look just like one. That's the dire wolf that we have, is the Lambo that's on top of a Pontiac Fiero body. It's not really a dire wolf. And I would also imagine, as we discussed, that these things can't procreate, and we've already gone down this rabbit hole. But anyway, that's just an example of another convo that we recently had without doing all the research. But in hindsight, it's no less interesting, I suppose, because I don't frankly believe a word of it. That. Okay, so that's the case. Does that mean they're going to stop tinkering? Of course not.
Well, and as Dr. Malcolm from Jurassic Park would say, how do you know they can't procreate? Does somebody go out there and lift up all the dinosaurs' skirts?
Yeah, and the only thing we need, like from that movie, to show how dangerous it is to be bringing anything into being at all, things, how things can go wrong, is Jeff Goldblum himself. I mean, talk about a mutation. I like his work, by the way, as an actor, but as a human, he's a very strange man. Not sure that Brundlefly. I heard it the first time.
Well, I tried to. Speaking of which, this was actually something that I just got a text that says, "See you tomorrow. I'll pick you up." And this is somebody that I don't know. It's just like they're phishing. Have you been getting a lot of these, like the texts that say, yeah, see you tomorrow, I'll pick you up? The other day, there was one that said something like, are you going to be going to the wedding? And I had half a notion to be like, oh, no, I missed it.
No,
and like
I don't
respond
get
to these people. Oh yeah, no, I get all kinds of phishing texts. Of course, it's saying that I have unpaid tolls because of all, the toll bridges that are in our area.
The whole sheriff threatening to ride over and arrest you because you have an unpaid parking ticket or 12, that's one thing. But this is interesting to me to try to appeal to just your general social sensibilities. You get a text out of the blue, just, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. But see, here's the thing where the scammer really went wrong. It's of course, he doesn't know if he's dealing with a man or a woman necessarily. Mm-hmm. He's got to put something more enticing in there besides just, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll pick you up in the morning. You got to put something like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. Pick you up in the morning. Can't wait to see them. Can you? I wonder how they turned out, or something like that, where you're just thinking, oh my God, what is this?
Ooh, now I'm intrigued.
Now you are intrigued, and now you might actually bite. Not just, I'll see you tomorrow. That's like, you could ignore that just as easily as you're going to. But, can't wait to see how Karen's new job turned out or something like that. You're thinking, whoa, I don't want to respond to this, but I have to. It's just like, I think you have the wrong person, but I'm still curious. What are we talking about?
Well, you know how Neil sits in the window over there and watches all the people go by and he doodles his ideas for bumper stickers. I think you and Neil might need to get together and you could actually probably come up with like new ways to spam people. Like that was intriguing.
Oh, God.
I would definitely respond to your text if you said something like that.
This is funny. This is the first I was just complaining earlier today about my job primarily entails me to write clickbait, and I'm so bad at it because I don't have a mind that's slanted that direction. And yet here I am thinking about a way to improve upon the phishing text you just received.
Yeah.
And it was real. That was an awkward moment in time for me. But it's true. What a terrible fishing expedition that is. Just see you tomorrow. I'll pick you up then. It's just like, no, you won't. You don't even want to respond to that. But I don't know. What's the other one you said you got? See at the wedding? Or are you going to be at the wedding?
My coworkers and I, we exchange these quite often, actually. We have a little group text, and every time one of us gets one that's really funny, we always forward it to the other ones. One of them was, Dr. Smith, my puppies are sick. I need to make an appointment to see you. That kind of a thing. And so then
I think you play. Here's how you can kind of make this right. Here's how you can Lone Ranger this and make it right. You got to play with them in return. So when you get the text that says, "Are you going to the wedding?" respond and say, "Yes. Do you think $10,000 cash will be enough?" Just and then you have them.
Yes.
Then they're all, yes, I think that'd be plenty. Where was that again? Just saying, oh gosh, I'm not going to reveal that to you now. Come on now. You know the rules. I'll tell you at the wedding, but I'll definitely bring the $10,000 and maybe a little extra for us to have fun with afterwards. Oh, this person's going to be absolutely just, they've got $10,000. I mean, get them going and then send them out to some like rat hole shit, just get them busted for trespassing somewhere or something.
Oh, that's the best. It kind of reminds me of those horror movies. What were those horror movies where he's like, want to play a game? Were they the Saw movies?
Saw?
Yeah.
I'm not into that torture.
Those were terrible. And it kind of reminds me of that. You're kind of like the maniacal Spygate person. I think maybe we need to start, having this as a regular segment in our podcast.
Well, or if someone calls you and they're a scammer, like I said, just lead them down your own rabbit hole. If you have time and it's, oh, hello, today we are calling to let you know that you are the winner of, can I please have your name? And then just start right there. Just say, Yes, Xavier Grappolofto Mundez. That's with 2 F's, 2 L's, and 3 O's. I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Okay, it's okay. Doesn't mind. Never mind. What is your social security number? Okay, 1. Actually, just keep hitting 1. There's like 11111, and then 011. You know, I mean, just see how long you can string them along themselves and see how they like it. Of course, nobody has time to fuck around with that, but it would be nice to get them back. They have some funny things where they reverse, they whammy spammers and scammers and stuff like that. So,
well,
I've seen them before.
Speaking of AI and solving your problems, my sister got me going on this ChatGPT all of a sudden.
Oh, yes.
She
I hear
is
a lot about that.
so involved with ChatGPT. I mean, I would love to get a hold of her phone sometime just so I could see what kind of questions she asks ChatGPT. She refers to ChatGPT as if it's like one of her friends, and it's going to help her to like solve all the world's problems. So I'm going to put ChatGPT to the test here and ask it, what should I say when someone spam texts me?
Sadly, instead of like big questions, what does it say?
So here's the voice that they pull up.
If someone spam texts you, it's best to keep your response short, clear, and firm, if you even choose to respond at all. Here are a few options depending on the situation.
Wow.
If it's someone you know, but they're being excessive, hey, can you slow down a bit? I'll get back to you when I can. I saw your messages. No need to send so many. I'll reply when I have a moment. If it's unwanted or borderline harassment, please stop messaging me like this. If it continues, I'll block you.
She kind of has a Michael Caine-esque to her tone, doesn't she?
She has a little bit of a pedantic British thing going on there for sure.
We
can trust that voice, though. That's why they
100%. And if they did have Michael Caine,
smarter than your voice. So
I would definitely subscribe to ChatGPT if they had Michael Caine.
I was going to say, who's the guy from American Idol? The asshole,
Simon?
The real asshole. Simon Cowell. Sounds like Simon Cowell's sister there.
Yeah,
actually.
It does, doesn't it? Kind of like the...
Could be, I suppose.
What was that nanny show?
Nanny 911?
Was the one where they would like have a nanny come in and like not beat the children, but they would like have them, I
missed that version. That was the uncensored, like, West African version or something.
No, they would just like...
I'm afraid we're going to have to beat all the children now.
They would just...
It's time for you to rear your
like,
bottoms.
They would reprimand the parents, and they would just be like, I don't know why you have allowed these little twerps to get so far gone. And then they would like tell them about how they need to like reel in their children.
It was Nanny 911. And to continue with your like unabridged version is, and in the Southern Hemisphere, we know a children, which we gauge how much we should spank them based on the amount of redness their bottom shows, which can last an eternity to get to a shade of crimson that's deserving. So, and then that's like 14 hours of the show is the spanking, the public flogging.
Well, they wouldn't beat the children, but they would like make them do the dishes. And they would,
yeah. What they would do is they would always come in and set up structure. The children are lacking structure. That was basically every episode I ever saw was, you've enabled the children with too many toys and too many treats, and they need structure. They're lacking structure. And it's like, okay. People need structure. I need structure. I'll admit that, but I'm an adult, and I also am very self-analytical. This is a 10-year-old maniac who has been, as you mentioned, enabled with lots of plastic and lots of sugar. So good luck with that. And then, of course, the producers make it look like everything turned out roses because they waved more candy and sugar and toys in the kid's face. Like it was going to work out that way. That's not reality. It's TV. So it's reality TV. It's bullshit. But it could be the Nanny 911 chat GTP. I won't be using that, of course, anytime soon because why? I mean, logical deduction would tell you what to do if you get a spam text. I mean, either as she said already, just ignore it, or if you're going to respond, but it's like, why respond?
Well, I think there's
You're
just
asking for trouble if you
there's just a lot of lost people out there who are looking for instant answers, right? They just want to ask something, a question. So what would you ask ChatGPT if you could ask it
Well, that's
anything?
what I was going to say. Sadly, ChatGPT isn't fielding a lot of questions about what's the meaning of life, what is God, those kinds of things. I'm guessing most of what ChatGPT is filtering these days through its binary circuitry, which it's called a brain, I guess, in that world, are things like, how do I know when a girl likes me? How do I know when it's okay to make a move on a girl that I think likes me?
Yeah.
How do I know if I'm not playing on the other team? Stuff like that. It's going to be pretty elementary, I would think, pretty sad. Go on Reddit sometime and take a look at some of the bigger forums there. That should give you a pretty good idea of what people are going to be asking ChatGPT. And a lot of it has to do with a lot of there are things that you're supposed to experience for yourself. It's truly it's a deliberate conundrum that's been established as part of the experience of living. Because if you're asking Reddit or ChatGPT, this is the kind of things you used to ask your best friends about, or go to your big brother or sister for advice. God forbid your parents, if you were truly desperate. Maybe you had a step parent or one of those really cool people that was like a shopkeeper or an innkeeper, or somebody that worked with your mom, or an uncle or an aunt. Sometimes there were outlier adults you could ask, but
an innkeeper.
How do I kiss? Well, yeah,
This is like an after-school television special. An innkeeper.
This is true.
Who were your parents?
You go to the innkeeper and say, "Oh, innkeeper, I like this girl, and I'd really like to give her a kiss, but I'm a little bit lollygagged on how to do that exactly. Can you show me some techniques and whatnot?" And then the innkeeper would say, "Oh, yes, here, child, take a Werther's original and unwrap it, and we'll get started," And then, but some people didn't have that kind of guidance through life. And so you had to get to the awkward moment and then give it a whirl. And if you did it wrong, they would let you know painfully, and then you not do that again.
Otherwise, it was the hard-handed innkeeper.
Maybe that's the theme. They should set it so you can change themes, and your ChatGPT needs to be the innkeeper.
I think ChatGPT needs to be redesigned so that you can customize who your ChatGPT bot is. And like I said, and mine would be Michael Caine, I think. I think he would be a trustworthy source of information. So, I'd like to have...
I won't steer you wrong. I'll always be there for you. I promise you that. I do the best I can for you, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And everything would end with, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
That's right. You got it. Anybody wanting to do the correct Michael Caine impersonation, everything that's said ends with, that's it. Don't fucking ask me anything else. Michael Caine has spoken.
Michael Caine has spoken.
Even if you don't do the best voice of Michael Caine, if you just pull off and I don't want to talk about it anymore, that's it. You've done your due diligence as far as the impersonation is concerned. It'll at least have half of an effect. It'll get through to your audience.
And then you could also have the ChatGPT bot be like, you said, the maybe older, more experienced innkeeper.
Why am I picturing the guy with the lantern on the back of the hermit card on the back of Led Zeppelin 4? Why am I picturing that guy? Like, oh, innkeeper. Yes. Oh, I'm so delighted. You helped me so much. The kiss was fabulous, and now I'm going to get to second base. How do I slide in safely, innkeeper? It's like, well, get out another Werther's original and unwrap it, and we'll get started. And that's literally everything. There has to be you know where that comes from? Because I'm such an associative wacko. There was this really creepy ad that was on TV in the 80s or early 90s when I was younger that was Werther's Originals. They're those caramel. They're not really caramels, but they're those hard candies that taste like caramel, and you suck on them. And there was this old demented grandfather who had a big old fucking bowl of them, and he was just waiting for, my grandfather used to share Werther's originals with me, and now you're damn straight I share Werther's originals with the whole family. And he had them in his pockets of his fucking Mr. Rogers sweater, and the whole kids were lined up like, I don't want to sit on your lap again, you know.
But you have
it
candy.
Was crazy as fuck.
I have to,
candy.
I have to do it if he has candy.
Right. Dig in the innkeeper's pocket. You'll find something eventually that resembles candy. You know, oh, God, sad. So if you put, I wonder what it would say if you put into ChatGPT, or, you know, whatever.
ChatGPT.
What are chemtrails, ChatGPT? Because here's something that seems to have disappeared from the landscape of the internet. It's been completely taken over by the factions that want to run the whole notion of chemtrails aground. You can't find any alternative information about chemtrails at all without doing a lot of very ferreted digging online. You have to fossick through a lot of different things online to find anything about chemtrails. And I had to pass along that I recently saw, like you talk about absolutely like undeniable proof that I don't care what you call it, it's not a contrail, all right? I grew up in the 1970s and 80s as a child, and as an observant enough boy, in fact, I probably could have been called, like one of my favorite lines from the Empire of the Sun, you know, try not to think so much, you know, that was me. I'm Jim, the kid. I have seen contrails. I have made contrails in airplanes that I have been seated within with my father at the controls of, okay? Like the man was a pilot, all right? I know what contrails look like, and I also know how rapidly they dissipate and what they look like when they dissipate, which is just like vapor from your exhaust of your car when it's cold outside. It's there for a few moments and then it is gone. These are not contrails. So remarkably, I took pictures. I'll post them actually on. Don't have a thing to post them on, but I'll post them. I swear.
Yeah, we have an X page.
To the point where there were 5 in a row that were S-shaped. The planes literally made repeated passes right next to each other that were like half Z shapes in the sky. Why would you, first of all, forget the logic about what a chem versus a contrail looks like. Why would any 5 planes do that? First of all, they'd fly straight as an arrow through the sky on their vector, on their course from one airport to another commercially or even privately or even militarily. They would not stop to make an S-curve in the sky, and they sure as fuck wouldn't stop to do it 5 different times.
Okay.
And so I'm driving we call it the plateau, and it's an elevated stretch of mostly flat land that's farm country. And so I got the perfect view of it going on in the sky, and it's teeming with them. There's activity all over. There had to have been a dozen planes up there making these things. And over the course of the 45-minute drive that it takes to go from one town that's on the west side of the plateau to the other, I watched this stuff that they put in the sky and finally was able to develop my own best guess as to what they may really be doing with these chemtrails, because this stuff stretched out over the course of that near hour's time, and it created a thin veil for the sun that was not as penetrable. It made a gauzy sky, basically. You know what I'm saying? So it got me to thinking, I think this is an attempt to block the harmful effects, the what has become overly harmful effects of the sun's rays. It's the best I can think of, because it seemed to be a very concentrated effort to fill the sky with this crap that made it hazy. And once the haze settled in, there was no more really blue sky. It was sort of there, and you could tell the sun was being partially obscured. The rays were being deflected up high by this stuff, whatever it was. Okay, I mean,
let's ask it. Let's go ahead.
And just to finish out, a few days later, there's this thing on Facebook, and I don't do social media. I'm not good at it, but at work I have to follow it. Some woman posted pictures of the same activity happening over where we live and said she's been following it for years. She has tons of pictures. She's been documenting it. She's done stupid things like who'd she call? She said she called the Department of Ecology, like they know anything or would give anything up if they did. That's a dumb move, madam. You got to quit that. But so she's on there, and then here come the debunkers. You're an idiot. It's a contrail. You don't know what contrails. Look, anybody tells you that, smack them full on in the fucking head and say, I know what a contrail looks like. That's not what this is, and it's been going on for decades now. There are chemtrails. They're real. And it would be nice if they would at least admit to that and then lie about their purpose rather than just be so emboldened to just lie to our face. Say, it's not doing it. Nothing. It's clear as crystal. Something's happening up there. It's incredibly clear. Go out and pay attention one day. It happens all over the planet, probably, but certainly all over the country. So, yeah, go ahead, ask it.
I think you know what it's going to say, but
I know exactly what it's going to tell you. It's going to tell you chemtrails are not real. They're fantasy. Go have a Werther's original and be sure and dig deep in the pockets of whoever you get it from.
The local innkeeper. That's what it's going to say. All right, here we go.
Chemtrails is a term used in a conspiracy theory that claims some condensation trails, contrails, left by aircraft are actually chemical or biological agents deliberately sprayed for purposes like weather modification, population control, or other secret agendas.
Other secret agendas.
Here's what science says.
All right, I've heard enough.
Oh, here's what science says. Well, okay.
So they've even programmed ChatGPT to be kind of like this. Okay, so we're going to give you the alternative answer, which is that if you're one of those conspiracy theorists, here's probably what you want to hear. And then we're going to say, well, science says this.
Yeah, they've programmed science in there for sure. Ask it, say, ChatGPT, are reptilians real? There's another one that you'll find. There's another one you can get nothing easily accessible about online anymore. They've clamped up with the reptilians too. It's going to say the same thing. It's a fill in the blanks with the chemtrails thing, probably.
There is no scientific evidence that reptilian beings, like the ones described in conspiracy theories as shape-shifting aliens controlling governments,
there are those
real.
Two words.
The reptilian idea comes from conspiracy theorist David Icke, who popularized the notion that a race of reptilian aliens, sometimes called draconians or lizard people, secretly runs the world. He claims these beings can disguise themselves as humans and hold positions of power in politics, finance, and media.
It's kind of like...
In reality, there is no credible scientific or physical evidence to support the existence of reptilian aliens or shapeshifters.
Right.
Most experts consider this theory to be a form of science fiction.
Might point out, just like in the reality of the 16th century, there was no such thing as half the fucking planets we now know exist in reality. Just like in reality, many of the things that we know technologically today to be true were non-existent in the 20th century, let alone the 19th. So just a little something to think about there. Just because there's no evidence that's being purported as credible doesn't mean that it doesn't exist or isn't real. I love how the words conspiracy theory are immediately chucked by the AI bot. As soon as you put in
it's learned.
As soon as you put in reptilian, it's been programmed.
It has been programmed.
It has been programmed, just like Google and YouTube have been programmed to move you off to the side if you even think about putting those things in. Now, I will say they haven't removed them entirely, because you can find information that is, shall we say, non-mainstream or non-official narrative on those subjects. But yeah, it's difficult. It's not as easy as it used to be. That is for sure. And as far as Mr. Icke is concerned, they shut him down. I mean, the pandemic, you talk about, going back and, well, it was COVID. Yeah, COVID, it didn't ruin David, because I don't think he's not a man who can face ruination by those, corners of the world. He just keeps right on going. But they definitely made his life, it took a different course, that's for sure, because they took down everything that he had built on all of the major social media platforms. And his big mistake was saying that the pandemic was a lie. It was false, that the disease itself, that COVID was not real. And I think in doing so, he may have gone too far, because for a while I was wondering, but then again, I don't know too many people. So, because I kept thinking, I don't know anybody that, it's been a year and I don't know anybody that, knows somebody even that's died from this. But then finally that started happening. There were some people that they caught something, and, for lack of anything else, it certainly, was called COVID, and they succumbed to it, or they were their health significantly took a turn for the worst as a result of it. And so I think David, for all of the great ideas that he's had, I don't think that was the best idea, because then what they said was, well, this is just too dangerous. He was, unfortunately, and the people that said that it wasn't real, which they had every right to, by the way, because you're supposed to have every right to say, well, I don't buy this. I don't buy that this is real. I don't think that this pandemic thing is happening. That should be your absolute God. That's supposed to be your God-given right. This First Amendment crap that we're supposed to all run around and, all these millions of lives that have been lost in these wars for our freedoms. That's supposed to be one of the principal things that's protected by all that bloodshed is, hey, I have the right to say whatever the fuck I want, even if it's a ludicrous notion to most people. It's my right to say that. Not anymore, because they deemed it too dangerous. It's just too dangerous. Public safety's at risk. We can't have people following it. Well, that's awfully convenient, because now we can say that about anything, can't we? Now the government can step in and say, we don't want you saying that because it's bad for our business. Move along. Public safety is at hand. That was a bad day for humanity right there. A bad day. So
it was. And I think
that's the worst thing that came out of that.
It was. And I think that there was an interview that I heard not too long ago on, I think it was Coast to Coast AM, actually, where they had a guest on there talking about conspiracy theory and kind of the blueprint of a conspiracy theory. And it was just last week's show. I'll have to send you the link, because I think you would like this deal. But essentially they were talking about the COVID-19 pandemic and how really it was power that of this information that really kind of then started to corrupt public officials, and people knew even early on that masks were not effective, that, closing schools for as long as they did wasn't going to necessarily keep children safer or what have you. I mean, and I mean, and even the guidelines, the 5 feet or whatever, 6 feet. I mean, it was just a made up number. It wasn't going to change anything.
They're making it up as they go along.
Yeah.
Because the number one thing that remember, the number one job of government, any government, doesn't matter what ism it doesn't matter whether it's capital, doesn't matter whether it's social, doesn't matter whether it's commune. It doesn't matter what ism follows it or ist follows it for the sake of the people that live there. The number one job of any government is to maintain absolute control over its population at all times.
Absolutely.
Now, it used to be very draconian, speaking of the word that was brought up by ChatGPT there for our reptilian friends. It used to be very draconian methods, very iron-fisted monarchical methods.
Orwellian, if you will.
Well, the best way to so that the old thought was the iron fist rules. It's the best way to control people.
Yeah,
is to just put them in shackles, is to chain them up and control them. And then as time went along, the people that were in power, who are always the people that have all the stuff and all the money, this made up bullshit that we just keep bowing down to and, like, for some reason following the leader of it. That's the thing. If we just get off that, we'd be freed. It's like so much more. We'd literally be unbound. But we won't get off that. So those people figured out over time, hey, the best thing that we could really do to stay in control of our people is to present them with the illusion that they are free, that they are in control, when actually at the end of every day and the start of it too, we are. And that's the life that we live now. That's the life we live in every country around the world that is supposed to be free. If it's, this thing we live in the United States, absolutely true. The illusion of freedom has been given to you. Well, I'm free. Well, are you? Okay, well, tell me just exactly, this is what I like to say to people. Tell me about this freedom. What are you free to do exactly? Because we've gone over Jack Hansen's model for freedom before. The day I can walk out my door and turn any direction and not encounter a property line, a fence, a state line, a county line, a government line, not encounter anything that would impede my progress or make me into a criminal trespasser until I reach the ocean in one direction or another, or a body of water that's impassable because I'm not Christ and can't walk on the damn thing. That's the day that I am fully free corporeally here in this experience. That day is a long ways away. If you want to model it just outside my door right now where I live, I could probably go 9 feet in one direction because we live right next to an automotive repair place. I'd hit a chain link fence within just a few yards of my front door in one direction. The other, I would hit businesses that exist on the other side that aren't too far, much further. Cross the streets, a church, nice, but they're going to get me for trespassing. Then there's apartments back there and, others. You're not free. And that's just one example of how you're not free. But painting with the illusion, I can leave my place right now and go get a pizza and pay for it, of course, with money that I have to do what in order to get, probably, unless I'm a silver spoon baby, work for someone else. You're not really free. So giving you the illusion that you are actually makes you feel more confident about your place in society. And so therefore you buy the lie and you're more controllable. You're more controllable than you are if you were oppressed in chains, because if you're oppressed in chains, you're probably either thrashing in resistance constantly and you're of no use, or you're just too oppressed. The best thing to do is to make you think that you don't work for them when you absolutely do. And that's why you need to flip the switch. And that's what is great about awakenings is, you don't really remove those shackles, but you're aware of it and you know that you can. You know that there are ways to do it. There aren't many ways that aren't going to radically change your existence here. And most people don't want to give up all their money and stuff, but at least you know that the switch is there. And I think that's the first step. Just the awakening is to realize that the lever is there for you to pull at any time. There's a ripcord, baby, and it belongs to you. You're in full control of it. Take the ripcord away from them. That's what you do. But anyway, that's why we have ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Help us with that stuff.
And if you ever find yourself in a wet paper bag and you need to figure out how to get out of it, I sure hope you have your ChatGPT bot with you.
If you experience yourself in the middle of a wet paper bag, the best thing to do is to bite down hard on any of the surfaces that lie within you. If the bag is truly wet, it should rupture almost immediately upon contact with one of your incisors. At this time, you can wail and thrash until a hole large enough for you to escape the bag emerges. Yeah, there you go. See, I could do this woman's job, except she's not real in the sense that
that's one of those things that my dad always says. They couldn't figure themselves. They couldn't figure their way out of a wet paper bag.
Of a paper bag,
yeah.
Wet paper bag. Yeah,
was there anything that your old man used to say?
Oh my God, he wasn't around a lot when I was a kid. He was pretty absent from the scene. No, I can't really say that I'll probably think of something later that maybe he said.
Well, this is the last one I'm going to play, but this one's hilarious. You should listen to this.
Getting out of a wet paper bag is usually more of a humorous metaphor for being stuck in an easy situation. But if you're asking literally or playfully, here's how to escape. Literal answer 1. Push through it. A wet paper bag is very weak. You can easily tear it with your hands, elbows, or even by just standing up if you're somehow inside it.
See,
My God.
that's the world we live in.
That's the world some people live. I don't live there. I don't ask that thing anything. You notice that? She's not my friend. I don't want anything to
ChatGPT.
I'll do just fine figuring out how to, wriggle my way out of the wet paper bag on my own. So, yeah, somebody who would be best friends or friends at all with ChatGPT. That reminds me of something that I wrote down recently that I'll flip through my pages here and share today for what it's worth, because this kind of reminds me of that. So just, here's your download from Jack for the week, and we should probably get on I've got one about flow. No, not the horrible thing from Progressive, by the way, that needs to be strung up publicly and skinned alive for all of us to see in public. Fucking insurance commercials. But the gift of flow. I want to talk about the gift of flow, FLOW, as it pertains to existence here at some point in the near future. But anyway, on the note of today, kind of what we've been talking about, here's what I wrote down. When you don't live life with a passion, purpose, or cause, you are literally killing time, because you're just filling the gift of time that you've been given by passing or killing it. Stop killing time. Use it. Because time isn't real. And isn't it funny how we're starting to, it seems to me like, thanks to YouTube and thanks to, just, I guess, the connectivity of the world, in ubiquity, billions of people all over the world are beginning to jive with concepts that used to be completely abstract, like time isn't real. Like, well, yeah, of course it's not. Well, then what the fuck is with all this other shit that you're doing that's crazy ass? Like listening to ChatGPT all the time. I don't understand. There's a massive disconnect, it seems like to me, in between what's grounding you here and what you really are. Like these higher concepts. I almost feel like people are beginning to start to balloon into these higher concepts, and it's not difficult for them to get, which is wonderful, because it shouldn't be, because they're literally made of them. And it's also, it works for them. They accept it. They're not resisting it. Like, so much in the religious side of things, so much in the theological bent was resisted for decades after it was fully swallowed and utilized against them, so that, again, the same thing could happen all over again, which is the kings of the world could trample on other kings and take them over so they could have all their stuff and money. People revolted against theological, persuasions. They stopped, people aren't resisting these things, which I think is wonderful. They don't argue with you when you talk like that and say time isn't real and it's a gift in a timed experiment, which is your life. So, stop wasting it, but then what they turn around and do with that knowledge is just incredible to me. I mean, it's just, and what I think it is a side effect of just how drunk we are on the way of life that we've been sold on. I know that's my problem. If I'm, going to admit to a big problem, that's Jack's problem, is, yeah, sure, there's an acute awareness of all of these truths that seem to ripple through or literally flow full on and make everything run, regardless of what we do with it. But there's such an inebriation on the way of life, the way to live that we've learned, that it's really hard to dry out from. You keep buying stuff because it's more interesting than something else you can find to do. That's a huge problem for me. You keep, this isn't a problem for me, but I think it's a problem for a lot of people. You keep doing what other people are doing and telling you to do because it's the place to be. Remember Damone from Fast Times? When you're with a girl, what's one of the first rules? Wherever you are, that's the place to be. isn't this great? No, it's not great. And you shouldn't fucking be there, but you're there. Why are you there? And I wonder this every time I hear about like women getting roofied or, harassed at parties or, God forbid, raped or sexually assaulted. It's one of the first things I think of is they tell their story. It's like, well, so I'm 14. A coworker just did this to me, told me a story, this horrible story. She got roofied by some guy. And I said, Jesus, when did this happen? She said, I was 14. I said, 14? Where are you at 14 to get roofied by a guy? She said, at a house party with a sister or somebody who was 16. I was good Lord, man, why are you there? What compels you to go there? What's happening there that's good?
Well, and as a 21-year-old, like, why are you hanging out with 13-year-olds?
Well, I think she said her friend or whoever it was only 16, and so she's at this thing too. But I just, I think, my God, why? Because I was not a partier when I was a kid. I stayed away from all of it. Never went to a party when I was a kid. I was a part of some, unfortunately, that my parents and my older siblings definitely threw. And so maybe that's one of the reasons why I got to see what happens at these parties. And I was like, no, thanks. This is not for me. This is foolish. I mean, you talk about wasting time, and it's just regressive. Maybe that's what did it. But I never did that as a high schooler even. Never went to one single party. Never. Because only bad things seem to happen there. And it's just like, yeah, duh. How could they not? I mean, everybody, it's bad enough to be at an adult party where everybody's getting schnockered and losing their faculties. But you're doing this with kids who don't have any really, their sensibilities haven't maturated as it is. And so we're going to take this lot and now we're giving them alcohol and drugs. And that's a formula for disaster. That's a recipe for chaos and disaster. And of course it always winds up that way. So I wonder when I hear some of these stories, like I said, you watch the documentaries and you hear the story. Well, I was at this party and I'm just thinking, why are you there? And why are you there alone? And why, just all the whys start coming. Like, why are we doing this? And it seems to me like we're doing this because, just like Damone said, that's the place to be. And it's funny because we can equate it to a classic comedy, but it's not funny in the very real sense that people are doing that. They're lining up at Magic Mountain and pooping in line. This has been a problem at Disneyland recently. People are standing in line so long to get on a fucking ride that they have to defecate, and they don't want to lose their place in line, so they're shitting in line. And yeah, you're cracking up because it's pathetic. But we're sharing that world with those people. We're sharing the planet with those people. And
do you think Disney's going to start selling diapers at Disneyland?
Little mouse ears,
so that you can defecate while waiting in line.
I'd like to take a big old defecation on Disney, I can tell you that. But it's just, and that's one tiny, barely glimmering example in a maelstrom of many that can be pointed out every single day. We live it every single day. And we all know, and we can all sense, we don't have to sense it. We know it's getting worse. And I just look at the totality of the situation and say, what's happening here, Jack? As we start to actually gain traction with some of these, as I said, higher concepts about existing and why we're here, and start to really probe these questions, I have found in general, people are very non-resistant to those ideas. They like those ideas. They welcome those ideas if they haven't already thought about them for themselves. They don't do anything. They don't do anything with it from there. They don't practice it. And so what's retarding that progress? Why are we just stultified from practicing what we know will make us feel so much better? Why won't we share more and take less? Why won't we be more kind and less derogatory? Why won't, on and on we go. Why is that? And the only thing I can think is because it's like a mire. It's like a muck. We're stuck in a certain way that we've learned. And it's made us drunk. We're intoxicated by it, and we haven't figured out how to collectively pull ourselves free yet. Because I would love to be able to renounce all of my material possessions for, a day or a week and just give it a try. Because, of course, to renounce all of them and just throw them away, it's going too far. That's risky, because we're attached to them. I'd like to at least be able to do it for a day or two so I could see how it feels. But that's not how the game works. The game depends on you to set yourself truly free.
Well,
and not just bullshit free.
This is something that we've actually talked about a few times on this podcast, and I think that it actually is kind of almost the kind of byproduct of living in this material world that, for, let's just say, the United States has really furthered in its society. I mean, what do you do when you graduate from high school? Well, you go into debt because you need to go to a 4-year university. And who's gonna fund those loans? Well, there's banks that have financial tools that will lend you money so that you can be in debt for the next 30 years of your life. And if you're, lucky enough to survive a 4-year university, then you can afford to buy a home. You can afford to buy a new car. You can afford to buy, we've got all of these instruments that are put into our society to really keep us in line and to keep us at a job that I would say a majority of people probably do not enjoy their careers. They do it because it's a necessary to continue to maintain their lifestyle.
Well, I think even people like me that enjoy fundamentally what they do for a living, because, for various reasons, I'm, without, sounding too self-aggrandizing, I'm innately gifted at what I do, and I'm also experienced at what I do. And what I do serves a purpose for the world. I don't think I would put it on a really high plateau as far as, I'm not an EMT or an emergency room doctor, or, I'm not rushing in and putting out fires or performing really critical functions, but I'm doing something that is using what innate talents and the skills that I've learned and honed over the years. It serves a purpose. Mm-hmm. I'm a voice. I'm a trusted voice to disseminate information and entertainment for people.
And you find joy. You find areas of your job joyful. But then I think...
So in fundamental construct, I do appreciate my job. But what I don't like about it is everything that has to do with who runs the goddamn place. The company... And the company I work for is actually not too bad. I've worked for worse, trust me. But it still comes down to the days that I don't enjoy. It's the corporate rigmarole, it's the corporate rhetoric, it's all of that garbage that, again, stultifies my ability to be as happy, I guess, pronounced as possible. Again, happy comes and goes, but I can't anchor in the joy of what I do for too long because they fuck with it constantly.
Well, and like you mentioned, you're an author of clickbait, and so then your mindset has to shift to, well, how can I keep somebody clicking on these stories? What is the goal of this? And really, at the end of the day, what does that do for your organization, right?
Makes the money.
But how much money are they really making off of a story? You know what I mean? Have we ever really gotten down to and I guess maybe this kind of also goes to kind of like social media. And I feel like, a lot of these social media websites are really just created to where you're constantly scrolling and you're never going to get to the end of that scroll. And that just drives me nuts because I'm sitting there going, oh, wow, when am I going to get to the end of this? You never will because it'll just keep going and going and going. It's a constant
wicked trick.
It's a feed.
It's a wicked trick that we've all had pulled on us online before, and they want me to write it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to write it. And I fancy myself, although I have my own style, to be a very good writer. I'm a very articulate writer. I'm a very passionate writer.
Absolutely.
Look, all that stuff is subjective, but if you're a writer, you understand the words you write and the order you put them in to assemble thoughts and ideas and stories are like your children. And so they're important to you. So to have a job where that was the name of the game, every day, Jack, come in and sit down and write something that you feel really good about for us. That's a game changer. That's not the game that we play, though.
No.
Listen, we have people in my company that write probably, and I'm being kind, at a first grade level. There are people in my building, and we only account for just a minuscule portion of the properties that the company owns. There are people in my building who probably don't write beyond a second grade level. It's sad. And granted, they weren't cut out for this. It's not what they were designed to do. They were disc jockeys, they were radio guys. And then this company buys them. And the next thing you know, it's, well, write this stuff for us. So they do the best they can. But what it exposes is a really horrible truth about the inability to articulate with the written word. And that's scary to me, because not only do I want to be, as a true communicator, proficient at communicating in the spoken word, I want to be able to communicate in the written word as well. And hell, teach me semaphore while we're at it. Give me the flags. I want to be able to convey thoughts and ideas with the best of ability that I'm able to, because words are limiting. We don't have the telepathic abilities that our gray alien friends seem to, or that we're supposed to develop over time once we start using more than 5% of these big giant gray squishy things that are between our ears. But the issue, going back to the job portion of it, is that the sad thing for me is that I can pour my heart into an article for the company I work for and really be proud of it, and be told by people that will actually take the time, rare enough as it is, to read it. Wow, Jack, that was great article. I laughed. It made me think. You're a really great writer. What else could you want? You got a little approbation. You were told that you reached somebody. You touched them emotionally. It's fantastic. It did absolutely dick online, because
see, that's the thing.
When is In-N-Out Burger coming to town got all the fucking attention, and it was written by the guy that has a first grade vernacular.
So why is it that doesn't translate to this, I guess, bubblegum plastic clickbait world? Why is that?
Because of the drunkenness, because we're drunk on In-N-Out Burger coming to town, and when it's going to happen, instead of, you know what? I'm fucking sick of In-N-Out Burger. It's hype and it's a fucking hamburger. There's no way that it could be that much better than any other burger that's already existed, because there's been a trillion fucking hamburgers that have existed. So instead of thinking about my stomach, and instead of thinking about being sated, and thinking about all of these palpable experiences that are only physical, because let's face it, a hamburger, you're not exactly going to meld with in a volcanistic way. You're not going to take it into your mind space. It doesn't get into your heart space. It clogs your fucking arteries, maybe in your heart space, but you're not putting it into your soul. Food tastes great, yes, and food is a great language, because we all need it, and I get that whole Andrew Zimmern special. I've seen it a million times. Fuck In-N-Out Burger and when it's coming to town. If you'd stop and actually want to read something else to expand your horizons beyond a hamburger, then that's what's missing. Here's the inherent problem, though, too, on top of that, Michael. Here's the second problem. I'm the only guy writing that stuff and getting nowhere. So it's not like there's a lot of choice, see? Everybody, the flavor to choose from is 500 articles about In-N-Out Burger and when it's coming or where it's going, or Chick-fil-A. Fuck, that's another one. That's all there is. And then there's me. I feel like the lone peep that's sitting there going, here I am, just in case you want something different. Marginalized to no end are we, because that's the choice that we're given. And remember, that's another way that you're not really free, is even though there's all those choices that seem to be out there, you're really only given just so many choices. It's like music. I mean, music on the radio and music, because there's so much music out there. I mean, oh my God, artists are able to throw stuff up on, all these different platforms, and they have social media, and you can listen to anything you want. There's everything and anything available in the whole world to you now. But the big dogs on the block, the Capitol Records and all the whatever they are now, Geffen Records, all the big labels. I don't know what the big labels are now, but the ones that have always been in control of the music. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. Here's the thing. There's a lot of choices out there besides Taylor Swift. But Taylor Swift is what you're mostly being fed through the mainstream channels. But rather than explore an estuary of the mainstream that might take you, it's not as glitzy, the boat doesn't hum, and it's not vibe, but that might lead you to a Xanadu that you never knew existed if you just take the time to take it. You have the time, you got your whole life, but you won't, because you're just stuck on the boat to nowhere that they give you. Get on our boat and stay on it and listen to what we say, the captain's orders, and just go, then you don't have to do anything. People are lazy as fuck. They don't want to think about this is why we've talked about this before too. This is why religion got out of control. This is why religion became a tool to use against people, to control them and to win wars and trample over human bodies and spill blood so that the kings can get more stuff that they didn't already have, and more kingdom and more territory. It's because religion was packaged instead of how it truly began, which is, again, the Hebrew Bible at least begins, and all the great things begin with, hey, there's this guy, and I've been hearing him in my head. He's been talking to me about all these things. And then the guy next to him says, you hear this guy too? I've been hearing this guy all the time. We should get together sometime, few of us, and talk about this guy. He seems interesting. There you go. That's literally the beginnings of what became the Christian Bible right there. I have a connection to what I'm inextricably a part of, existence. Call it what you will, God, source, doesn't matter. I'm aware of that. And another person in my space has just exclaimed that they're aware of that. And then we find others who are aware of that. And then we share stories about our awareness of that and what it means to us. Simple, beautiful, works. But all of a sudden, at some point, the salespeople come in and they package it up and they say, no, you don't have to do all that thinking. We've done all the thinking for you. We got it all packaged up right here. Now, this book right here is all you need, Charlie. You just do everything this book tells you, and everything that we tell you as the interpretation of that book when you come in and see us on Sundays. You'll be all set. You don't have to go worrying about doing these conclaves anymore with these people in your neighborhood. They don't need all that, see? You don't have to think about it for yourself. We are the final voice on that.
Yeah.
And we've done it with everything. The same thing that ruined religion has ruined us in every way artistically, if we let it, because the choice is still there. That's the thing. If we let it. But man, have we let it, because, oh my God. I mean, I am astounded every time that In-N-Out Burger coming to town gets 100,000 hits on our website or something. I just think, my God, we just did that. That's it. We just did this. That's the other thing. How gluttonous can we be for In-N-Out Burger? We just did this. I swear to God, I saw this 3 weeks ago, and here it is again, and it got just as many or more hits this time. So
that scenario that you were just talking about reminds me of one of my favorite scenes in the movie Private Parts, Howard Stern's movie. This isn't just Muffler Man. This is Stereo Frickin' City.
World, yeah. Stereo City, right? Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, and then we go to Rush's song, "The Spirit of Radio," which again is just, it's not. I'm fighting that right now with my own agent. My agent has got a bite, somewhere. And to me, it's not even a nibble. To me, it's like the fish sort of swims by and kind of gives a sideways look to your hook and goes, that's what it is to me. But to him, it's like, oh my God, because it's the first nibble he's even ever come close to getting for me. So I'm going to let him follow it and see where it goes. But immediately we start talking about things that are intrusive to Jack Hansen's style, because I'm getting advice on, don't talk about the thing that you did with the restaurant chain, the bit that you sent was really funny, but don't send that one to these guys because they might be a sponsor. And I just think, I don't give a fuck who their sponsor is. I'm saying it. If they want me, that's what's being said. I'm not going to censor myself because there might be a sponsor. That's ridiculous. So I don't know how I'm ever going to win that battle. In fact, I don't think I am. So this is the only one that's available to me. And thank God it is, because it wasn't available when I was coming up through radio, social media. YouTube was not a thing. So for as much as we complain about sometimes not seemingly getting any traction or having as many listeners as we'd like to, or, all these things that people do, it's just, I'm always appreciative that the outlet is here at all.
Yeah.
Because there was a time when this was not available to a counterculture person like me. I just talked with she's like our regional person, and it's her job is basically just to help us all succeed at my job. And so we're talking to me, and I feel so bad for her because talking to me is literally just like a whole experiment. It's another worldly experience aside from she has to talk to other people. I'm not saying that I'm any better. I mean, don't take me wrong.
No, there's just a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to unpack for the average person.
Yeah, and so she's just like, well, so we'd like you to start writing some articles about what you like to do. What do you like to do? And I said, anything that everybody else isn't doing. And she just, the pale face comes and she says, what do you mean by that? And I said, listen, lady, you got a hard job enough. You got a really hard job with me. If everybody's there, I'm not. And that's what makes this job very difficult for me. Okay. I'm very good at this, but I'm also very not, because I don't want to fall in line with what's working for everybody. And she kind of brightened up because she said, you're a counterculture guy. And I said, that's a great way to put it. That's a really great way to put it. I am a counterculture guy, but I'm selective. If the culture's doing it and it makes sense and it seems to me like it's a really good idea, I'll buy it. I'll go there. But most of the things, and I'm talking 98% of the things that the culture's doing, it ain't vibing with me because it doesn't seem to be such a good idea. I'm not there. And she said, well, there's already a place for you here at the company, and I feel like that has an audience too. So even though it may not resonate and get the big hits that, they're looking for, you're still going to have some success. So I got to hand it to them. They're trying. They haven't canned me for not being mainstream enough, but it's just, I'd never be able to do it. Like, I just can't. I can't think like they need me to be good at my job, but that's okay.
You're like the Fred Armisen of local radio.
There you go. All right. I know we're about to close up, but I have one last thing I want to do here. And it's a quick evisceration.
Okay.
At a company that truly deserves it. Okay?
Can you do it in 5 minutes?
Yeah, I can do it in 5 minutes.
Okay.
It'll take me 90 seconds. I won't take too long on it. So you've never heard of them before, but I know you've heard of what they make. The company is a French dairy cooperative called Sodial.
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 Sodial. Sodial.
Sodial.
Sodial. In 2021, they took over as the only owners of Yoplait yogurt.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Yoplait, I believe, was actually owned by Kellogg's and one of the big other things for a while, but they sold it. And so
makers of the Boston cream pie.
Right.
Yogurt.
So this French cooperative owns the whole thing. And so we put out a call yet again, because this call has been going on for over 20 years, I want to say, to Yoplait yogurt and the folks at Sodial who make it, to please ditch the fucking container that you put Yoplait in. It's called a frustum, if I'm not mistaken. It would qualify as what's called a frustum. It's got a conical shape, but it's flat on the top where you open the thing. Okay. The design doesn't play well with raccoons and possums and little critters who invariably get into your yogurt containers with their little heads, and they can't get them off. Other yogurt brands containers, they can lick them out, and even if they do get marginally stuck, They managed to shake them off. Yoplait, they can suffocate in there. They've been found with fucking, how'd you like to be found dead in a fucking hotel room with a big Yoplait yogurt canister on your head and have all the questions swirling around on Monday morning? Now you know what it's like for all the raccoons down at the water cooler to say, hey, did you hear about John Boy? And a fucking yogurt container around his head. What a testarool he is. I mean, to get killed by fucking yogurt, and not even good yogurt, because that stuff sucks. Okay? Yoplait, change the fucking container already. You've been asked for 25 years or more. I know it because I've followed the stories, and they're still out there. And you're like, oh, we cannot change this. Our signature cup. Fuck your stupid cup. Okay? Fuck your stupid cup and the shape of your stupid fucking cup. Change it already so that the heads of these precious animals don't get stuck in there anymore. Okay? And we know it's not your fault that people litter. You're just supposed to throw it away. It's the world, okay? People are going to go eat Yoplait at campsites all over this summer, and little baby animals are going to fucking die because you won't change your signature cup. Oh. How would people know it's Yoplait if they don't know the frustum shape? Come on.
You know what the Yoplait container reminds me of? It reminds me of those stupid little plastic cups that they give you on the airplanes. And the stewardess opens the can, the beverage can that you receive now for free. They, of course, were charging you for a little while, but now they've gone back to
hurting yourself
the free.
With it, right?
And so they don't give you the whole can. They pour like a third of the can into this stupid little plastic cup that inevitably is smaller than a normal plastic cup. And then they fill it with ice, which even makes it less beverage. And then instead of giving you the can, they take the can and they put it back on the cart. That's what it reminds me of. It's just big enough to get a taste of the Boston cream pie. But yet, when you actually you could probably get 2 or 3 spoonfuls of Yoplait out of one of those stupid little cylindrical. It's smaller at the top and wider at the bottom. I feel like they've engineered it. NASA engineered it to put just enough in this container, but not enough to really increase the costs of making the Boston cream pie yogurt.
Yeah. On the note of the yogurt, it probably was done a long time ago. If you get to the true, that's a video you won't find on YouTube because it's been taken off just like your favorite reptilian content too. The true story behind the Yoplait yogurt cup, I'm sure, has to do with, it will look like all of the other yogurt cups, but because of our special frustum style, we will charge the same, and it will save us 1.5 ounces in every canister. And over time, that will add up to, and here's all the bean counters.
See, exactly.
So that's what it is. And on the note of the airlines, you have no idea how much money the industry spent on the R&D to come up with that stupid thing. It was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 million. And then they all went to the big, convention in, where do they have it? Texas, probably, or Dallas, Las Vegas. What's another big, DC maybe for the airline industry. That's a good one. And then they go and then, we want to roll out a brand new cup for all of you that's going to save many troubles on airline flights. Here, and this is the thing you're talking about with this special airline cup. It's going to reduce in-flight injuries by as much as 17%, especially with drinkers of lighter sodas where, who knows? This research, this world that is just, all and right. The thing is they find people to do this,
Let's ask ChatGPT. What's the name of the Yoplait container?
It's a frustum shape. That's
yogurt container is commonly referred to as a yogurt cup, or more specifically, a Yoplait cup. For its classic products, Yoplait uses a distinctive hourglass-shaped plastic container.
Hourglass? It's not shaped like a fucking hourglass. Turn it off.
This shape is part of Yoplait's branding, especially for
Turn it off.
But you nailed it, because it is part of the branding, isn't it? The hourglass
shape.
The hourglass.
Think about it, folks. If the Yoplait cup, if a yogurt cup was truly hourglass shaped, then the yogurt would drip from one side of it to the other.
Right.
And you'd never be able to get at it once. Now, that'd be a cool marketing gag right there, wouldn't it? It's the new Yoplait hourglass. open the yogurt and the timer starts, and you better fucking scrape hard quick, man, because if it falls in the bottom, it mixes with like a sodium, pentothal mixture. It mixes with some kind of a sodium oxide. What's that shit that they quit selling on Amazon that'll kill you? You can commit suicide with it. Yeah, it mixes with that stuff.
Right.
Sodium benzate or whatever it is. And you can't eat it anymore unless you're, truly daring, or you have to throw it out. Now, that's a hell of an idea, but...
It's like the thing that Nicolas Cage removed from all those missiles on the movie The Rock with Sean Connery. The ones that if they break open while you're in the room, you'll actually turn into a lizard person.
I love all the lizard people references we have today.
I'm sitting here, no one is beside me. The sun is going down, it's late. I dream about the ancient times and about their fate. Atlantic is the name of the ocean. I cannot see the deepest ground. Atlantis is waiting. Some more buildings we found.
Beware of the content that you are consuming. And the innkeeper who might be providing you with that Werther's Original.
I was going to say, I got a Werther's Original right here for you, Michael.
What are we listening to today?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and now I have to remember what it is. It's a really unusual, kind of like proggy rock band. The song is called Art of A.
By Connie Conrad's Arena.
Connie Conrad's Arena, you got it. Yep.
Kind of reminds me of something you'd hear on Yacht Rock.
Yacht Rock? Really?
There's a topic for another time.
Maybe Yacht Rock if you're looking for extraterrestrials out at sea.
Which I am.
I would be too.
Until we meet again.
Lay off the Yoplait.
Well, it looks like Jack and Michael have finished up their latest chat about all things existence. But if anything they said got your own existence brewing, be sure and catch their other talks at existencebrewing.com and drop them an email to share your thoughts using contact@existencebrewing.com.
Existence Brewing.